On my YouTube channel, I pride myself on one thing, and that is using my years of pro play experience to teach you the types of things that other coaches and YouTubers simply can't. So in this video, I'll be going through all 5 roles and giving you one useful tip for each role that pro players are using, that you've almost certainly never heard of anywhere else before. I've also attached timestamps to the video, so if you want to quickly learn the tips for the roles you like to play, feel free to do so. But I'm sure you won't want to do that at all, since all of the tips I have in this video are incredibly useful to know, especially the tip I have for mid lane. That one specifically introduces some mechanics that I guarantee you not a single person watching this video has ever heard of before.
My name's Rogue and I played League of Legends professionally for 7 years. Now I'm a full-time content creator and coach for all ranks, Iron through to Challenger. So if you want more information of what a coaching session with me will look like, you can find more information by following the link in the video description below.
And while you're in the description, you'll also find the link to my Patreon where I post all of the recordings of my best coaching sessions in full, with almost 1,000 hours of content currently available, all sorted by role and rank, including sessions where I've coached for professional level teams. You can get a glimpse of what pro level league looks like from the inside. That's why whatever you're looking for, you'll easily be able to find something that's going to help you improve, no matter your rank. To start us off, we're looking at top lane. Now in top, the distance between the towers when only last hitting and stacking waves is 3 minion waves. This means that from the moment the wave crashes into one tower, it will take 3 minion waves before it crashes into the other one. This alone is useful information, but it truly becomes consequential when you pair it with one other thing. The cannon wave that arrives at 5 minutes 30 that gives you level 6 is the 9th minion wave of the game. What this essentially means is that if you take push on the first wave of the game at level 1 and do a 3-wave crash, 1, 2, 3, you are guaranteed to have priority for the level 6 wave as well as a slow push. Because if you crash wave 3 of the game and it comes back for 3 waves, 4, 5, 6, then on the bounce following that, 7, 8, 9, you'll be crashing wave number 9 with a triple stacked wave and hitting level 6. You have a cannon minion, you have level 6, you can potentially make a play, and if you get one off with a triple stacked wave and a cannon minion, you get enormous reward. Just check out this replay here. Now don't pay any attention to the fighting that's happening. We're just here to count out waves and watch how the minion waves move. Wave number 1, Fiora gets a lane start, so she uses it to get ahead and push. Wave number 2, she secures the level 2 and starts stacking. And then she does the typical thing, a 3-wave crash. Very, very good, Fiora. Alright, now that she's got a 3-wave crash, she can go for a recall, she can place a ward, she can do what she wants. Now we're on wave number 4, and this wave will start to move back towards her. It's Camille's turn to play out the lane now. We're on wave number 5, Camille even goes in, and there's a lot of fighting here, crazy stuff, but we're coming up to that wave number 6 now. It's going to be a cannon wave. Here we go, and there's some crazy shenanigans going on here. Camille even manages to get a solo kill. Great job to her. And now at wave number 7, that wave is crashing, and it's not quite crashing the wave 6, but it's around that mark. But this is where the fun begins. We're coming into wave number 8 now, and Fiora's slow push is beginning. We're stacking this wave up. Here comes wave number 9. We're looking right on that time of 5 minutes 30. And Camille, at that moment that she hits level 6, just look at the state of this lane. She's got a giant stacked up wave, a level 6 advantage, a cannon minion, Void Grubs are spawning in just a moment. This puts her opponent in a really vulnerable position where, with a lot of different top lane champions, we can go for a tower dive. With a roaming champion like Cladle Scion, we could look for a roam or a Shen away. There's a lot you can do. By taking push on wave 1, you guarantee push for your level 6. Moving on now to something for the junglers, and this one is kind of a hard point to give a name to, so I'll just have to explain it to you. Now, I've noticed that most junglers I coach instantly default back to their jungle camps in situations where there is any downtime. But junglers who play at the highest level know that patience is king, and sometimes sitting a bush and doing absolutely nothing is an objective in its own right, granted that you have the correct setup and the eye to find the play. This Sejuani replay in front of us is the perfect example about how high-level junglers understand that by doing nothing, sometimes this is the best objective you could possibly have, granted you have the right setup. So you'll notice that coming out of base, despite the fact that my jungle camp is right next to me and I can take it, I'm skipping it because I have everything I need from my play. I have my ultimate ready, I have a full item, but the most important reason as to why I'm skipping everything to go sit in a bush is because of the setup that I have on this side of the map. I have priority in 2 lanes, but most importantly, I have teammates in far up positions forming a nice sweeping line down aggressively inside the enemy's jungle. What I'm doing now, with teammates in position to capitalize, multiple lanes I can attack in, with good vision in between, is I'm physically placing myself in a position where I can quickly react to a play. So by placing myself in the middle here and spotting Kindred, all I have to do is determine in which of these two places is the enemy less defended. So as Kindred comes in, I try to push her out, but this is really the pivotal moment here, is this slight misstep from Kindred. I've just confirmed that Kindred has left her bot lane exposed, and with my giant setup with teammates in position, the play is pretty obvious now, isn't it? We blast plan over, and we instantly execute on a dive with just a few seconds of a frame. We have a 4v2 moment here because of the setup, and because I've placed myself in position to be ready for it, I can quickly capitalize and we can pull off the dive onto Ashe. On this following sequence out of base, you'll see this increased pace at which I'm playing the game come into fruition again. I'm stopping to take a jungle camp right now because my ult's not up and I have no teammates, but as soon as I have teammates on the map, I'm going to sit in a bush, which again makes no sense because I could be farming camps right now, but I'm placing myself again in an advantageous position to capitalize. And the moment I see Kindred show top, it instantly gives me the green light to go for whatever play I spot, which is this. I'm in position instantly behind Wei to immediately capitalize and burn his cooldowns. Now I'm going to go back to my position in between lanes where I can look for a play, and with Wei not able to rotate and Kindred confirmed topside, it's pretty easy to know that we're going to be able to dive Ashe. Now I know my bot lane's fully capable of this dive by themselves, so I leave it up to them and go take Dragon. But as soon as I finish Dragon, instead of doing the usual thing, defaulting back to taking my camps, we just look again at the setup. We have push bot, we're going to have push mid, we have teammates in far positions, so I'm again just going to place myself in an advantageous position between the lanes, and now we're starting to get a complete picture. We see Ashe bot lane, we see Kindred top lane, and based on where I am right now, I'm only seconds away from being in position to dive the enemy Wei mid, again getting us another successful play. The learning point here is simple. In a moment where you have teammates far up on the map and waves in position, instead of farming, you should be placing yourself in between lanes far up on the map in a position where you can quickly respond to new information once you receive it. This way you can find these sort of advantage plays with a huge payoff. Now for everyone's main character of the Rift, mid lane. And for mid lane, I have an incredibly simple trick. Now, before 5 minutes into the game, mid and top tower have a buff that reduces the damage they take by 75%. After 5 minutes though, this buff falls off and we can try to get some tower damage and some plates. The problem for mid lane, most mid laners don't really deal much tower damage. This combined with the shorter distance between the fountain and mid lane compared to the side lanes means that with enemies getting back to lane so quickly and you dealing such little tower damage, you should never really bother to try to hit the tower. Except for on cannon waves. Cannon creeps do an incredibly high 50 damage a second at around this level, but they also have a hidden buff I have literally never seen mentioned before. Cannon minions gain an increased 30% attack speed when attacking towers in mid lane, and only mid lane, meaning they absolutely destroy towers in this lane, but they're also incredibly tanky as well, taking 8 tower shots to be killed. The entire time that this cannon creep is tanking these 8 tower shots, all other minions in the wave remain alive and continue to deal damage to the tower, unlike in a 6 wave where they would be killed off quickly. On top of this, cannon minions give a tremendous amount of XP. One cannon creep gives over 3 times the amount of XP that a caster minion gives, meaning that a mid laner who is left unattended with a cannon wave, regardless of their champion, will take an incredibly high tower damage on mid lane tower, the most important tower in the game, as well as deny almost half a level of XP from the enemy team. In the post-6 era of your laning phase, you shouldn't be afraid to just simply dump key abilities like your ultimate, or in some cases even summoner spells, to force your opponent out of lane when the following wave out of base is a cannon minion. So we can see that happen here. The following wave walking out of base now is a cannon minion, and so our Syndra player walks up to her lane opponent, drops every single ability she has, including her ultimate, doesn't quite get the kill, but does successfully force him out of lane. Now, the repercussions of this are a lot bigger because he's missing a cannon wave. But to see the true extent of these repercussions, we have to check also the XP ramifications. So if we look down on the bottom left here, this little purple bar indicates Syndra's XP. She's about almost halfway towards her next level up. And if we compare that to Twitch, Twitch is also at about the same stage in his level progression as the Syndra is. Now, after pushing this wave into tower, our Syndra player gets to do the awesome thing, hit tower with a cannon minion. Now, to note here, this tower has already lost 2 plates and so has massively increased armor. So the tower damage that Syndra gets here is incredibly effective. She probably could have got a second plate if she had kept hitting here. She just decided not to because she was scared of the enemy jungler and the Twitch stealthing back to lane. But granted, it was still really important tower damage to get, but what's important is now the XP ramifications. On this following wave, our Syndra kills the wave, and voila, hits another level up. But if we go check the Twitch is almost at his next level up. Had he gotten that cannon wave, including the cannon minion worth of XP, he would be matching this level up. He wouldn't be down 2 levels, he'd be down only 1. And the ramifications that this will have for the rest of the game means that Syndra can easily leverage this next wave, and honestly, every single time this occurs for the rest of the game, she can leverage her XP differential over the Twitch forever. To summarize, everything that I've said here is simple. Do not leave mid lane open on cannon waves to roam. And if the enemy mid laner leaves mid lane open and you have a cannon wave, don't even bother to follow them. Just put your head down and hit the tower. Enough of mid laners. Let's talk about the crybabies of the Rift. That's you, ADC mains. Now, in their defense, ADC as a role does feel like a bit of a passenger at times, especially in solo queue when compared to other roles. The point where I notice that ADCs feel like this the most is in the mid game, where it sometimes feel like the entire game is just 2v5 on mid because your side lane has never come and your jungler just loves Gromp and Wolves more than you. The solution is my next tip. ADC mains at a pro level are just simply far more willing to commit fully to a side lane with their mid prio, and as you'll soon see when you're less shackled to mid lane, you can be a lot less of a passenger in a game and you can start taking control of your own destiny. Now, I wanted to find a good example for you guys of how high-ranking players are moving around the map and how impactful it can be, and that's when I came across this player. Now, this player is playing at the absolute top of Challenger on EUS, and he's really good at this style, especially on MF, who's great at this style because she's just so mobile with her passive, and in this game, with swiftness shoes. So we start out by running into mid, defaulting to our lane, that's where we belong. We grab this next mid wave, and that's where he starts to differ where he's going. Now, on this sequence, most of his teammates are behind him. We've got a Mumu basing and Styles dead. So he's going to bounce fully into top lane here. Now to note, the top wave is still alive. This is basic wave to wave macro. If you move from one lane to the other, you get there in time for the wave, and so the MF player effectively doubles his farm. He catches 2 waves in 30 seconds instead of just 1. Now, the next wave is already here, so he's just going to grab that while he's at it, and now he's going to move down into mid. Right? He can't keep pushing top, he doesn't feel safe, so he moves down, and according to wave macro, he has yet again doubled his farm. Because again, when he arrives mid, he catches another wave. So just in this time alone, MF has caught 4 waves in less than a minute. Pretty crazy. But if we look at the knock-on effect, Gragas is walking top lane to catch the wave we've just pushed in. And now that we've pushed mid in, Jhin is catching that wave. So our MF player, in this case, because she actually has teammates on the map, she's going to go for the aggressive option with her movement and move bot. Now, Gragas is not here for the fight because he's catching the top wave she already pushed out. And the Jhin is late to the fight, and by the time he gets here, his teammates are already dead. So based off the number advantage that this MF has single-handedly created, she's not only just farmed an absurd amount of minions in a short amount of time, but she's pushed mid, then pushed top, then pushed mid again, and now she's pushing bot lane. She's effectively pushed all 3 lanes on the map single-handedly. Now, in a following sequence a few minutes later, you're going to see how she uses this bit later on to fully commit and actually get side lane towers. So she comes out of base, and she's a little bit late to this wave, but remember, wave-to-wave macro exists, and so her top wave is still alive because it hasn't arrived yet. So even though she doesn't quite get the prio in the mid, she's still able to move topside with some minions still alive, so she does exactly that. She moves into topside, completely out-rotating her opponents, and is there to get a pick on Gragas. But it's not just the pick on Gragas. The wave is still alive, so this instantly results in a tower. Now, she spots the opportunity for more kills, and so instead of taking the easy tower with her Sylas, she's just going to take the extra kills and then leverage that into a really easy Baron. Now, this is where our replays start to branch off in 2 completely different directions, and you're probably going to start to have some deja vu. How many times have you taken a Baron, then grouped up with your team to try and siege down the enemy's base, only to have the goddamn Avengers assemble on you from every direction and completely wipe your team? When it comes time to hit towers, like what you see with a post-Baron sequence, you almost always want to be fully committing to a side lane to do so. Now, when it comes time to break the enemy base and try and close out a game, you're going to see it is much safer to do so from a side lane than it is in mid. So you should almost always, on post-Baron sequences and when trying to break the enemy base, commit to the side lane turret because it's much harder to be flanked. If you're trying to hit the mid tower and you have to stand here, you can be flanked from multiple directions and it's really hard for your teammates to block two sides at once. But by putting yourself in a side lane, you can stand very close to the edge of the map, and all of the threats, unless the enemy has a bunch of Kayn and Skarner players, they're all coming from one direction. And it's really easy for your teammates to block this. So you're going to see that here. It's time to break the enemy's base, and we don't want to throw this game with a 10k gold lead, but if you just look at the positioning of our MF player, no one can get to him. There is just a line of people blocking the only avenue of approach, so she just gets to sit in the back and just hit for free. By putting yourself on the edge of the map when it's time to break the base, commit fully to a side lane tower, and just stand here. It's that easy. Now we've left the best role for last. This is for all the Giga Chad support mains out there. The tip I have for you guys is so commonly used in challenger games, but I almost never see outside of these Apex ranks, which confuses me. It's really so simple to do. When you roam mid, but you can't get a kill because the enemy mid laner is just tower hugging, instead of walking away in defeat because you can't gank them, just walk into mid lane and lane with your mid laner for the wave crash. What inspired me to include this tip for the video was a session I had with a student yesterday who missed out on this exact opportunity. Now, coming out of base, our Pyke player looks mid and spots the enemy Sylas under tower with barely any health. Sylas obviously isn't gankable here, he's under his tower, but if we were to walk into mid lane at exactly this moment and just simply stand there threatening hook on the tower, it would instantly force Sylas to just give the entire wave in a plate, or he would get hooked and die. Now, what makes this trick super oppressive is when we combine this trick with what we learnt previously in the video in the mid lane section about the importance of cannon waves to mid laners. So as we're walking out of base here, we are walking out of base, standing next to a freshly spawned cannon wave, which is a massive opportunity to not only deny half a level of XP, but get an enormous amount of tower damage, regardless of the damage that our mid laner can deal. And when we look mid lane and we see the situation mid, we have a Ryze who is less than full health, who has no TP, no flash, is almost out of mana, and is very, very vulnerable. Now, he can't afford to lose this cannon wave. He'll lose at least 2 plates and half a level. And if we can't gank the Ryze, this is where we could start to use this trick. Now, coming out of base here, if the Ryze is not gankable, what we don't want to do is take our mid laner's XP, right? He would not be very happy about that. We can simply sit in the corner of this bush, and if the Ryze is conceding, we can just wait until our Zoe has cleared the wave from outside of XP range. And once she's cleared the last minion, that's when we can step around the corner at the last possible moment when the wave crashes and just throw spells onto tower. There's no way this Ryze could possibly play dodgeball against Pyke and Zoe while trying to last hit a cannon wave. And if he gets hit by anything, he basically just loses a ton. Now, he was disrespecting massively here, walking up and dies to a regular gank. But in situations like this, where you do a regular gank, if the gank isn't an option because they play too safe, you just pivot the regular gank into, well, walking under tower right now and throwing some Pyke hooks. Now, as I said in the video intro, the aim of my channel is to teach you something new that you haven't heard before, and to do my best to break this infinite cycle of repeating the same thing every other League YouTuber has already been saying for years over and over. So I hope I held up my end of the deal and taught you something in this video that you didn't already know. If I did, let me know in the comments what tip it was that was new to you, and leave a sub to say thanks. My name's Rogue, and thank you for watching.